I'm recording this on Earth Day 2024. It's the one day a year that we set aside to celebrate our planet. You know, we look at pictures of pretty coastlines and mountains and a natural phenomenon, waterfalls, and all the beauty of, say, Yellowstone. And so we gather around ourselves and we congratulate ourselves for living on such a beautiful, beautiful planet. But I've already identified myself as an ecocentric empath. That means I feel to one extent or the other the earth. I feel mostly, the pain of the earth. It influences me. And, so I would really like to do something about it, but, I can't because I have a saying that we are afraid of the truth as a species because we live in a world of bullshit. Not only that, but bullshit is at the very foundation of life under the sun, in 2024. This idea that we celebrate the planet is just the greatest illustration of bullshit I have ever seen in my life. The weather, for example. Scientists are now saying that we are shifting from El Nino to La Nina. And you all know what that means. That means a change in the jet stream that flows above the United States. And, La Nina really does affect the whole planet. And, scientists are predicting this is going to be one of the top 5 years in terms of record heat. And, we say, well, thank God for air conditioning, because we've figured out a way to shield ourselves from that heat. And so we live our lives thinking nothing is really wrong. But a great deal is wrong because the earth today is trying to defend itself against us. We, humanity, human beings, are destroying this planet in the name of profit. The love of money is the root of all evil. That's what we're taught in the Bible. The love of money is the root of all evil. Well, guess what, folks? We live in an evil world because of that. How do we stop the inevitable? That is a complicated and difficult question, but it should be at the top of our list. And, plastic. Remember The Graduate, the film The Graduate in the 60s? I remember it because it was an influential film at the time. Starred Dustin Hoffman. It was, in fact, his pathway to stardom. And in the movie, there's a scene where, and it's the most famous scene from The Graduate, aside from Anne Bancroft's legs. But he's the graduate is graduating from college, and he's at a party. And these older gentlemen, friends, relatives of his, talk to him about what's coming economically for the world and the urging that the graduate get into it. And that they give them one word. That word is plastic. Plastic in the 60s was seen as the future of business. Well, what have we done with plastic? There are microplastics everywhere. In our air, we breathe this stuff. It's toxic. Plastic is toxic to us as human beings, and yet we use it for everything. Why? Because it's cheap, it's petroleum based, and it is governed by rich people who, hell, one day they may escape to the moon or to Mars and leave us down here in a dystopian mess. And I'm serious about that. You know, science fiction has a way of prophesying what's coming. And there are, you know, look at a post apocalyptic world as demonstrated by these writers. And you'll see, you know, clearly where we're headed. Now, can we do something about this? Well, I think we can. And this is another challenge from this old boomer to young people. I have great hope in the future because young people, they are the first generation to be linked horizontally with everybody else. Remember, we are all just a URL in the coming world that technology is bringing us. And if that's the case, then we are set up for a completely different and new way of governing ourselves. John Wycliffe, upon the completion of his translation of the Bible, this is way back, just prior to the dawn of the printing press, he made this, his translation of the Bible was Common English. It's what we know now as the King James Version of the Bible. But, you know, Wycliffe's translation of that, you know, in common language meant that everybody could read the Bible. Anybody could read the Bible. And the Bible was the source of the power and influence of the Catholic Church. You know, this is back in the 15th century, okay? So we're talking a long, long time ago. But upon completion of that translation, he made a statement. This book shall make possible government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Abraham Lincoln stole that for the Gettysburg Address and is the one named often in looking at that phrase. But that comes from John Wycliffe, and here's why he made that statement. The knowledge of the time in the 15th century was all produced by the church. The mantra of people back then was, I believe, therefore I understand. And Wycliffe thought that if everybody had all this knowledge, it would be possible for people, the laity, to come together and govern themselves. He was way ahead of his time because, you know, the pre-modern era birthed the modern era. You know, the rise once again of the academy and excuse me, and the you know, the ability of people to get out from under the grip of the church. Well, fast forward to today. We are now in the postmodern era, which means the mantra is, I participate and I understand, therefore I understand. You see, in the modern world, all that everyday people could do was be spectators, you know, to spectate, if you will. But today we can participate because we are all connected in the great horizontal. That means government of the people, by the people, and for the people is possible. You know, I can see Wycliffe, you know, thinking that, you know, the Bible, knowledge of the Bible would, you know, bring everybody together. And in fact, the hierarchy of our culture has, you know, tamped that down so much, and it's just not possible. But with the internet and the World Wide Web, given to us by Tim Berners-Lee, we can talk to each other. We can organize together. We can create our own new forms of hierarchy, to govern us. And, laws can be rewritten, rules can be rewritten. And all of this gives me great hope for the future of our planet. And because I think young people have the wherewithal to organize themselves this way and take on the man that we were trying to fight against in the counterculture movement of the 60s. I was part of that. I know how frustrating it was. And there's eco-terrorism now where people are so fed up and believe that the only thing that the government will listen to is violence. That's not really the best way to go about this, folks. And, let's be honest, that will never change the world of bullshit in which we live. Of course, I could be wrong because, I'm just an old boomer named Terry. And as I tell you every episode, I'm just a commentary, so I could be wrong.